Hello, it's Sharon here from Mumsy Warrior, and the date is the 18th of April 2022. No doubt a lot of people have seen that there is a theatre show in Bath, I believe. Bath, the UK, the place that we love. How sad. My gosh. But anyway, so there's this theatre show called The Family Sex Show for ages 5+. Wasted taxpayers' money. You must complain to your MP in government. This is child abuse. I'm saying this is child abuse because anyone that believes that prancing around naked in front of children and promoting this in front of children will not harm them is mentally deranged. If a child goes to a house and they see naked people, they're not going to question it if that's what they've been raised with. They're not going to have any red flags, and it's going to put them in serious, serious danger of child abuse. This has to stop now. You have to complain to your MP. You have to find out whether your MP is good or bad. And believe me, I know there are bad MPs because I had one, a male MP that believed student girls were old enough to be prostitutes. We're talking about young girls aged 16+. As a mother, this disgusts me, and I cannot believe that I am the only person complaining about this. But anyway, I'm going to give you a bit of history on what's actually happening right now and why it's happening. Dr. Glenn Wilson, a psychologist that believes children are not hurt by pedophiles. If this upsets you, you must complain because our children are not being protected here in the UK. What are they teaching our children in school?
Because what was unusual about this project was that it was a group of paedophiles who were functioning in society. They were not yet in jail or being treated by the psychiatric services.
The book suggests, first of all, you say they were happy to talk to you because you didn't condemn them. You say that at that point, at the time of writing, that research shows no lasting harm to the sexual and social development of children. Do you still believe that?
It's extremely difficult to prove that a non-rape encounter between an older man and a teenage boy of 14 or 15 does any very great lasting harm.
We know that the prevalence of suicide among people who've been abused as children. Do you not think that the evidence exists that this is harmful?
Not scientific evidence. You get anecdotal evidence, and you get people who are trying to increase their compensation claims by claiming that they were totally traumatized by being touched up by a priest. And
you don't believe that there was trauma?
I think people come forward for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they have been traumatized. Sometimes they are attention-seeking, and that this is a famous person, and they would quite like to be seen as having been connected with them.
Members subscribed to the organisation, often using pseudonyms or just numbers, but it was known they included public school teachers and social workers, all important figures in the drive for legitimacy.
They were an interest organisation. They looked to get their people on the inside in lots of organisations. This could be gay rights organisations, civil liberties organisations, even mental health organisations, so that then they could steer policy from the inside. I do think that they probably were successful in infiltrating a lot of liberal left organisations and publications as well, so that some of their arguments filter out into that whole field in a way which has to give pause for thought.
By 1975, P.I.E had achieved one of their biggest successes, becoming an affiliate of the National Council for Civil Liberties.
I have the best MP in the UK and worldwide. She's female, a female MP that actually cares about children, women and families. Actually, Tonya found out that the police are recording trans women as women on crime reports, therefore making birth women look like they're going off the rails and committing crimes against children. So it's a good job that she's speaking out about this and getting something done about it. When I complained to Tonya about this disgusting Lego pervert bondage image, which I tried to get taken down off the internet myself, and as a woman and mother, I'm not important in the UK. I'm not respected by the powers that be, the men that control this world. So therefore, I had no say over it. I couldn't do anything about it. But thankfully, my MP did have the power. My female MP, Tonya, had the power to get it taken down. My daughter has a lovely YouTube channel which is to do with Lego, and they used her Lego YouTube name to overtake her in the search engines with this perverted image, this perverted Lego image. If we do not start complaining about the muck they're putting in films, music, on the internet, etc., God help our kids, and I mean that sincerely, because somebody needs to do something about this and stand up and be protecting our children so that they actually get an innocent childhood, which they all deserve.
Several mental health institutions for support, and they turned me away because I was a sex worker, even though I begged them to help me stop. I had no family to help me. I was just completely alone with it and struggling so much. I remember there was one time where there was a glass of water in front of me and I couldn't get up to get the water, and like I was getting turned away by the end of it because I couldn't do it. I wasn't up to the job. Anybody that came to me to stop them feeling like I did.
And that's why she set up what is currently the country's only student sex worker support group based in Manchester and helping people throughout the pandemic.
For me, it's not just about helping the whole community, it's about the individual. I think if you can make a difference in one individual's life, you've made all the difference in the world. There's been an overall increase in sex work altogether. People have been let go from their jobs temporarily and permanently, and universal credit doesn't pay enough for people to live on, which is a positive thing, because the sex work is becoming more and more accepted as a job, but it presents its risks.
The need for organisations like Jessica's support for student sex workers is growing. Sky News has learned that a rising number of university students are turning to sex work as a result of COVID-19 and its economic impact. Figures from a survey by Save the Student show that 10% would consider sex work in a financial emergency, nearly double the number compared to last year, while in a separate survey, 7% of students say they've actually turned to sex or adult work during the pandemic as a way of plugging the gap in a cash crisis. 77% were female, 22% male.
Initially it was only lingerie, and I did that for the first 2 months, and then I decided to go topless.
So do you have a line?
Nothing below the waist.
I understand you feel, James, this to be a complex issue. So what is your view about trainee doctors doing sex work? Is it a good or a bad thing?
I'm very much on the fence with this one, Mark. To be honest with you, I left healthcare before I started doing OnlyFans because it didn't sit right with me, purely because of the image of what society has on it. It seems wrong, and maybe with the issues of families and clients and the problems that may arise with that, it's just opening up a whole can of worms with dealing with families, and when I was working in healthcare it was just quite an issue. So I totally understand why not, but also it's a bigger issue with sex workers and how we're perceived.
Yes, I mean, clearly, there are many medical students who face major financial challenges just handling, the cost of being a student. And sex work, it's perhaps an attractive option to some of them. I mean, can you blame them for doing it just for the money, James?
And this is exactly sort of what I was saying earlier. It's how can we blame them? I mean, on the money they're being paid, they're students, they've got very small budgets. Where else do they go? It's McDonald's, £8 something an hour. It's totally understandable. I saw this as a longer term work for me, so I made the decision to leave and then start. But then there's some people that just need the extra money, whilst they're studying, so it is understandable.
I have just shown you news broadcasts about Paedophile Information Exchange and student prostitution. The media is promoting student prostitution, and so are universities. I picked up a lottery magazine years ago in the children's library where it promoted student prostitution to get an education. And nobody complained about this. I was the only person that took this to my MP, who was a male MP at the time, and he told me student girls are old enough to be prostitutes. This is not acceptable to have men in government that believe this and have no values for young girls and women. I was very lucky to have got to liaise with American heroine, child activist, Dr. Judith Reisman, before she died. She died after having the vaccine, only a few days after. She didn't want the vaccine, by the way, but I don't think she had a choice. But anyway, she has been hidden from British history, this wonderful, amazing woman. She was witness to Paedophile Information Exchange trying to promote child abuse at a Swansea University here in Wales. And she managed to get Paedophile Information Exchange banned and stopped. We need more people like this that actually care about our kids, because right now you can see what's happening with the music industry, with the film industry, the way they sexualise absolutely everything in schools. She proved that Kinsey's sex education in our schools is corrupt. It's a fraud. You have to do your research. Stop being told how to think, and think for yourself and do your own research. My daughter had a concert recently. She plays the cello, classical guitar, and she sings original songs. And my mother could not attend this concert because she's so broken. At 3 years old, my mother was abused by a next-door neighbour, a male next-door neighbour. She was 3 years old. It is just heartbreaking. My mother's been through hell with drugs, with electric shock treatment. I've had to witness all the side effects my mother has been through for all these drugs she's been pumped with, where her eyes are reaching to the ceiling, shaking limbs, her leg was shaking, etc. All because this disgusting pervert destroyed her childhood. There are many, many people out there like this that are suffering and cannot cope with life because that bad, horrific nightmare memory never goes away unless you can get some help with hypnotherapy, etc. So, I speak out about this because it bothers me. It bothers me that people like this get away with promoting child abuse openly and nobody does anything about it. I am going to leave you with a video I made on sex education in our schools, which proves we have got a serious problem within our education system and government, where they should not be brainwashing children into sex. They need to teach them love, respect, family values, and give them a childhood. Let them be children. So please complain to your MP and copy me in on the correspondence. Sharon J. Bainbridge. I put my link in the description of Facebook so you can contact me. Mumsy Warrior here. Just want to have a quick chat about sex education history and a debate. I'd love you to leave comments below, or parents to leave comments below, really. And I love being a kid. I really adored it. I was lucky enough to grow up in the 60s and 70s, etc. And I got to play and make my pies and act like a child and be a child. So when I went to school and I was taught sex education in school at 10 years old, I really questioned adults and what their thinking was there, because I didn't want it, and I wanted to know, and I still want to know, did my mum and dad get a letter asking if they're allowed to teach me this mug? Because it is mug. Children are not ready to learn about that sort of thing until they're a certain age, and they need to learn about it. Anyway, the history of it just is mind-boggling. 20th June 2020, Daily Mail. Outrage as pedophiles rebrand themselves as minor attracted persons in chilling online propaganda drive. Anonymous users have even gone so far as to create their own rainbow pride flag. So there you have it. This is scary stuff, and I just want you to watch some of the information that I've gathered over the years on the history on Paedophile Information Exchange. It is very, very tragic and scary indeed. So I hope you guys will leave comments below. Okay, so I've been liaising with Dr. Judith Reisman. She has a PhD and is from the Law University out in the USA, and this lady is an absolutely amazing child activist who's been fighting for a long, long time to protect children, mothers and families against the porn industry, and which actually, sadly, is linked to paedophilia. I say sadly, I mean I hate porn, I really hate it. Ask your local authorities these questions. Number 1. Why did Dr. Judith Reisman, PhD from the Law University, win a court case in Croatia against Kinsey's sex education in all our state schools? She proved sex education is paedophile run.
Sexology and sex education is grounded in the work of Dr. Alfred Kinsey. And that has, of course, been my focus over the years. Dr. Kinsey, here you have the Kinsey Report, 6 Types of Orgasm, and I have the book right here. This is Kinsey's book right here, okay? And anyone is welcome to turn to chapter 5. I will earmark the pages that are relevant. I will read from Kinsey's own book. And this becomes the foundation of your human sexuality education curricula, which is being promoted through Dr. Stollhofer, who trained at the Kinsey Institute. So the interlocking relationship between what is said here and what Mr. Stollhofer has not criticized this, has not brought this to the attention of the public. And I will show you, I will say, okay, pre-adolescent experienced an orgasm, age when observed, a 2-month-old baby. Do you all hear me there? Age when observed for orgasm, a 2-month-old baby. For climax, they call it a population. Then they talk about the climax of this baby. The baby didn't have the appropriate climax. A 5-month-old baby, 2 of them, 1 had a climax up to 1 year. 28 of these children are under age 12 months. We're talking about, and the underneath, ages of pre-adolescent orgasm based on, and this is supposed to be science, based on actual observation of 317 males. All of these are children being sexually molested, timed around the clock, because we have their times here, used with a stopwatch, around the clock, right there, and I'll earmark this for you so we can pass this around. Table 34, a 5-month-old baby allegedly has 3 orgasms. Excuse me, but are we all clear on what an orgasm is here? Do I have to go into that? No? All right. So, orgasm, as we have understood it, relates to the sexual climax, basically, of adults who know how to experience what they're experiencing and who had been identified as, having this as a function, usually, of a relationship between a woman and a man in a marital structure, all that sort of thing. Well, here we're talking about a 5-month-old baby. We're talking about a 4-year-old, and you need to look at this in the original book. that I am not creating something out of whole cloth. Because when I looked at it, my first question was, when Kinsey says examples of multiple orgasms in pre-adolescent males, some instances of higher frequencies. I looked at a 4-year-old supposed to have 26 orgasms in 24 hours. And as a mother, much less a scientist, that's an experiment around the clock. Is it not? And I said, who did it? Who did this? Because I knew Dr. Alfred Kinsey founded the Kinsey Institute at Indiana University, where Dr. Stuhlhofer trained, and founded the field of human sexuality and human sexuality education. And there is no debate about that. The Kinsey Institute has recently, would you pull one of those out so I can tag this? The Kinsey Institute recently published a book called Kinsey, the Man Who Changed the World. Based upon my analysis, I would restate that, and I would say Kinsey, the pedophile who changed the world. Because, let me explain, after all of these torturous experiences are defined here in his book, which shaped the world's opinion on sex, the whole field of sex then came out of this. There was no field of human sexuality before Kinsey. There was medical advice, there were parents, there was church, there was Bible, that sort of thing. There was no field. Kinsey created the field and then trained the people who became the purveyors of that ideology and that belief system. So I said, okay, wait a minute. We have all these children allegedly having orgasms. What does he define as an orgasm? I need another little stick. Thank you. 7 minutes, right, okay. Is this, okay, there we go. And on pages 160 and 161, you will see what you see up there, summarized. Kinsey said in this book that the children enjoyed this sexual violence that was inflicted upon them. It's right here, in his own words. Mengele was an example of this sort of thing, and we all know how to treat Mengele. And we do not build institutes based on Mengele. And we do not train people to engage in activities that Mengele engaged in. And we do not give them PhDs and allow them to go around the world training other people in Mengele's methodologies. This is our form of that kind of thing. And what Kinsey defined as an orgasm is summarized for you there. He said there were 6 types of orgasm. He's talking about 196 pre-adolescent boys are the sources of these percentage figures. He talks about extreme tension, violent convulsions. He talks about hysterical talking, crying. He talks about children, especially when the younger children, they're hysterical and they're weeping. And he talks about extreme trembling. And then he says pain, frightened at the approach of orgasm. And then he says he gives percentages for that. And he concludes they derive definite pleasure from the situation. That's his conclusion. And my conclusion is that is a sadomasochistic pedophile describing that.
Number 2. Why did our higher education, the Swansea University, invite Paedophile Information Exchange to promote child abuse? Note, Dr. Judith Reisman was an eyewitness to this corruption. Here's Dr. Judith Reisman's email. Wales, the start of the academic paedophile lobby. She sent me this email on the 10th of January 2015 because I questioned why the South Wales Evening Post had not printed her witness statement and why they had nothing about the paedophile sex education in there as well. So here's her response to me. She's got here, if you see here, I just received this email and here is my response. So that's the response to me. She's copied it to the South Wales Evening Post, all of them at the South Wales Evening Post, and none of them have replied. This shows how corrupt our newspapers are. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Anyway, so I'm going to read this out. Swansea University silent on 1970s paedophilia advocate by South Wales Evening Post, posted March 3rd, 2014. Swansea University has declined to comment on an invitation made to a notorious advocate for paedophilia to speak at a conference on its campus during the 1970s. It was reported that almost all 96 international academics attending signed a free speech petition saying the paedophile must speak and the staff must work. I was at that conference. After I received my doctorate in communications in 1977, I did a research report on children, women and pornography that was accepted by the British Psychological Association's International Conference on Love and Attraction at Swansea University, Wales. I was leaving London for Wales. News headlines announced that see Guardian article and the attached preface of my book, Yes, this was the origin of the academic paedophile lobby, and the conference organised knew it and planned it. Best, Judith Reisman, PhD, Visiting Professor, Director, Liberty Centre for Child Protection, Liberty School of Law. So there you have it. There's the evidence, and I really hope that people can actually soften to the evidence instead of actually getting agitated and aggressive. We need to actually protect our children, stop protecting the elite, because the elite are behind this, and something needs to be done about it. So here we have the Guardian article Dr. Judith Reisman was mentioning. I mean, if you read here, taboo or not taboo, that says it all. I mean, what newspaper would actually promote this? And you've got here Playboy, a picture of this, you know, this image here, you know, teddy bears, childlike image. This is disgusting, and this is what Dr. Judith Reisman is actually talking about. So next up is this. If you go to www.southwales-uni-paedophile-2070s-uni-advocate-story/story.html. Sorry, it's a bit long-winded. You will come across this story by the South Wales Evening Post. Swansea University has declined to comment on an invitation made to a notorious advocate for paedophilia to speak. So parents, please leave comments below, and please share this information even if you don't agree with it, because it's important. Hi guys, so here's the Organic Gardening and Foraging Club. I'm going to be dropping the free, even though it is still free, because I don't think it's coming up in search engines. It's getting confused. So yeah, you'll be able to find it on Facebook. Here's the link here. So try that link, and if that doesn't work, then just drop the free before the organic. And I'd love to see you there. Chris from Nana's Naturals, one of my dear friends, I call her sister. She has yeah, her own herbal business, and she mentioned about sort of writing down seeds, that you've got that you want to swap, trade, whatever. So yeah, do send them in on the group, and love to hear from you and see what you've got and what you want to share, etc., and what you want to find. So that's great. So yeah, take care and have a great week.